Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous Life of a Clown.
Hi, well, my name is Slater Penny, and I am a clown. I also teach, and I'm about to head off to grad school in the fall.
And you are probably most well known, not the only thing you do, but the most well known for your duo work with
Jaron Hollander.
At the Submarine show.
That's correct.
I'm glad you said his name because I can never remember if it's Jaron or Yaron, and I was going to say Yaron.
I get it. It's funny. Occasionally, he and I have some difficulties with our names growing up, and so it's like some people, Jared and things like that. But yeah, no, Jaron and I have known each other since middle school, so
That's amazing.
It's kind of neat to be able to have this divergent arc and different paths, and then come together and come up with something that is really a lot of fun.
Well, I'm really interested in those divergent paths, but first,
Sure.
It's a weird question that I've never had to ask someone before.
Really?
Tell me about your name.
Slater Penny?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Penny comes from my dad's side. They were, I suppose... Okay, I'm just going to make something up. I know that somewhere on the family tree, my dad's side of the family had ranch work, and so they were dealing with cattle and a lot of stuff. And so I'm assuming that Penn's was dealing with that. I don't know. I'm making it up. But on my mom's side, she was the one that gave me the name Slater from somewhere way back in, I guess, the colonists' time. There was a Joseph Slater that fought in the American Revolution or something, and so she drew back from the family tree a last name to be my first name.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with like Slater Kinney, the band.
I was gonna say, do you get a lot of heat about that? Are people presuming that it is a pun off of that?
No, well, some people wonder about that. I have yet to meet somebody with a Slater first name, but I was really pleased when Dazed and Confused came out, and back when I was going to college, it's when Saved by the Bell was very popular.
Yes. I know there's a fictional Slater, I just can't place it. But
yeah.
So did you get heat off of that?
A bit, I never saw the show. I still haven't seen the show, but my first roommate in college was named Zach. So
and you were Zach and Slater. That's lovely.
Yeah, I think that they paired us that way. It didn't work out, but that's all right.
So let's go back to what you were just saying about the divergent paths. You
Sure.
met Jaron in middle school.
Yeah.
Did you have interest in this field that far back?
I would say that the class that we were both in, Howard Freiberg's English and theater class. I mean, this is at the let's see, I call it a middle school, but at the time it was a junior high. This is at Willard Junior High in Berkeley, and we met in Howard Freiberg's class. And Howard was a retired clown. He had gone to Ringling, and during one week, I remember he said, "Okay, this week we're all going to learn how to juggle." And so, just for an hour each day, we got tennis balls and started from the beginning. And I picked it up and loved it. And I didn't get too far in the Cascade circuit, but I did realize, oh, okay, I can do this stuff, and this is actually working, and this is fun. But also, growing up in Berkeley, I was exposed to the Pickle Family Circus when I was younger. So that made a huge impression on my development, being like, wow, I can be outside, be in the circus, and this isn't like the Ringling Brothers experience where you're in this huge arena. This is very intimate. The ring curb is right there, and I can see the clowns right there. I mean, they're sweating on me. This is gross, but great too. So
that's spectacular. So you got to see the Pickles as a child.
Jeff Hoyle, Larry Pisoni, and Bill Irwin.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember seeing Mr. Sniff come out. I remember seeing Larry Pisoni and the Gorillas, and I remember seeing Bill Irwin, as Willie.
Yeah. And was that in the same era that Lorenzo was performing with his dad?
Yes, and so that also struck me to see that there was a child that was performing. I didn't know that it was his son, but I just had the sense of like, wow, there's a kid in there. That's cool. So
how many times do you think you saw him?
3 or 4 times. memory is tricky at that age. I mean, I do definitely remember seeing the not pre-show, but the intermission balloon, like huge red balloon that had a little bit of water in it, that would get bounced and bounced over the audience, and eventually it would pop and then sprinkle the audience with water on a hot day. It's a great, simple game. And it just made a huge impression on me, and it stuck with me and informed how I want to work.
Wow. You know, there were circuses in my youth, and they had an imprint, but I didn't develop my fixation until I was around 12 or 13. And my fixation on cartoonish people in general. Right. But the idea that I could do circus for a living didn't become, you know, something I was aware of until I was probably 12 or 13. Another roadside attraction by
Yes.
Tom Robbins.
Yes.
Someone owns a circus. The girl runs off and is living with the circus for a little while there in one of the parts of it. So you met Jaron in middle school. Jaron, I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing it, man.
Hey, you know,
you met
until
Jaron
you get him in here.
middle school, and you became friends then?
We knew of each other. It's kind of strange. Like, we were aware of each other without necessarily being best buds, and that continued for a long time. Of being aware that, like, oh hey, yeah, I know you. We went to UC Santa Cruz in the same time, and he was in the acting department and I was in the dance department, and so we didn't really cross over. They used different studios at UC Santa Cruz, and we after that, like, there were occasional crossover paths. Our friends, we were friends of friends, and we're like, hey, that's you. And we even wound up at Burning Man a few different times, being like, hey, yeah, we're camping together. Whoa, this is. But it wasn't like we were best buds right away. We just played sometimes, tried some partner acrobatics here and there, or tried some skits, and we're like, well, that was really easy, and then moved on. We didn't recognize how that ease of working with a partner was rare, and so we didn't value
So rare.
it. Yeah, right. We didn't know what it was until we were finally working together at Head Over Heels, where he was in charge, the artistic director of Splash Circus there, and he hired me to come in and be the rec department teacher. And so I worked with the basic rec kids who were doing this for fun and that value, and he was working with the pre-professionals on their performance troupe. And we did demonstrations and recognized that this was an easy clown exercise. We should just play. And so started playing in clown jams with James Montillon and Marina Karadieva, who is also helping out or like head of the rec department as well at Head Over Heels. So we sort of headed up that rec department for a while. She's really much better at managing with other people. She's got a much better career path and wound up being the sole artistic director for that program for a while. But honestly, we were jamming. We were just playing around in the backyard. And Jaron said that he saw something that I was doing, some mime work that I was doing on stage that made him think that we were in a submarine. He's like, oh, and ran up with me and was like, hey, let's be in a submarine. And I said, okay. And then we just improvised for 10 minutes on the theme of two people in a very small submarine. And that's how almost the first 10 minutes of the show was written. And like we just played and trusted each other enough on stage to play, make a mess, and get out of it.
That's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
And it's so pure, and it is, you know, in its own way, living the dream. It's you know, it's the ideal that you hope to find when partnering with someone.
God, I love partnerships. I mean, I really excel at either going like absolutely sub to the floor, like underneath the carpet, you know, and letting somebody else like really be the lead, or I'll like take the lead and really like take charge, and that particular aspect of myself comes out in the classroom environment, like where I'm listening to the kids, but I can also get them to go en masse into one area. Like I can I don't know, I got the nickname Pied Piper, which is really creepy, but still also I'd say accurate. I was able to move large groups of people in different directions. So, but yeah, when working with Jaron on the Submarine show, he makes very clear offers, and then I make clear offers, and then we were able to pick them up and get into some real messes together. It's absolutely wonderful.
So you were working together at Head Over Heels.
That's correct.
And you had just improvisational moment.
Yeah, an epiphany.
How long from there until you had a show?
Well, at that point, it was in that transition period between when Jaron was leaving Head Over Heels and then going over to found the Kinetic Arts Center, where he's now the artistic director, and it's still running, and it's great. But he, in that interim, is when we're looking for a project we could do together. Was when we decided to put this in front of the Kinetic Arts audience to be like, okay, here, we're gonna just 3 months into opening, or the grand opening, let's just put something out there. We'll just be in a submarine, and we know where we're beginning, we know where we want to end the piece, and let's see what happens. And at the beginning is like just us going boop, boop. And the end of the piece at that point was cutting through the fourth wall and discovering that the audience was there and that we're all there together. And for that particular day and piece and all the problems we had in between, it was huge, uproarious. I mean, we have video of it, but the camera is shaking because the person operating the camera is laughing so much. That's just, it's satisfying to have that. And so it started from there. And then we started thinking about what our costumes would be, and then came up with a costume that was, better than jumpsuits or overalls. And then we decided to put that out at the Clown Cabaret, which was happening. And this is before you were running it. This is back when
Climate, when it was Pie.
Right, when it was Pie, and we performed the same night as Sarah Moore and Joan Macon were performing. We performed when I think we were there when no, that was a different piece. But yeah, it was just experimenting and figuring out what worked, and we just had a wonderful little 10-minute piece that we expanded out to 15 minutes, concentrated back down to 12, and then ran that for a while. But we needed to make the next step. And so we talked to Jeff Raz, who we both had worked with before through Make a Circus. And through talking with him and hiring him to be our director, he really set the main thing that was missing from our piece, which was our character status difference. We at that point with Jeff set up that Jaron was going to be the captain and I would be the crew, and that would make our choices and our status very clear instantly to the audience. That was one of the things that we got, and while we're working with him, we expanded the whole piece outward to being about 40 minutes. And at that point, we were experimenting with rigging and with using a tissue and trying to do different pieces with props. But the props didn't seem as real. They didn't seem as real. That's leaving
behind this reality that you've already created.
Exactly.
By bringing on something that runs counter to it. I mean,
right.
That would seem false.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Exactly. Is that? But we didn't know that. We're in it and we're playing with it, and we don't. It's hard to tell what you're doing when you're in it. You don't realize the impact that like it has. And that's also one of the reasons why it's so hard to rehearse with Jaron, is because we just want to show off for each other. And so, like, if we're there together, our rehearsals have become 15 to 30 minute word exercise where we talk about, well, what would you like to do? Well, I think we should do work on this part. Oh, really? We should? Okay, yeah. Well, I remember the audience was responding to that. Yes, exactly. And so
that's actually my preferred way to rehearse.
Yeah.
Is to conceptualize it and verbalize it, as opposed to the doing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, what we got is that we know that we can do it. And that's lovely to have that sense of confidence with it, that we can do this. If we have a question of whether or not it'll work, we'll bring somebody over and say, hey, can you watch this while we're doing this? And then we'll discover, oh, yeah, that really didn't land. Or, oh, I wanted to make that point more interesting, so I was working really hard on this. So, anyway, I'm being a little vague, but it's fun.
No, it's great. So where, I mean, you first aired it at the Clown at the Clown Cabaret,
Yeah.
and then at Kinetic Arts. But you've run it for how many years now?
Oh, I think founded it in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're looking at 6 years at this point. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. I think
And
that's right.
You've played it a lot of places.
Yeah.
Tell me something about that progression, about festivals, about where you've played it, about and lead up to Edinburgh.
Oh, okay. So part of what was great is the contacts that we have in the Bay Area. Since we know a lot of people between the two of us, and we've lived here for so long, it's made it very easy to be like, okay, so hey, Laura Camp over at Flying Yoga, you're doing a benefit of some sorts. We know you. If you want us to be, you're doing a benefit with a variety show in it, we can be the glue between acts and be essentially a mimed MC. And so we did that. We worked also back at the Kinetic Arts Center when, who is it? Well, I guess they were having a cabaret as well. We laced it in together in between different acts. Where else did we perform it? Oh my goodness. Stephen Cates camps. Paula, at the time Paula Heather, now Paula Parks, was working with Stephen Cates camps and hooked us up with 18 of their different sites so that we could perform in front of these kids during the summer. That was something, that was kind of incredible. Imagine, I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Cates camps, but it's essentially do what you feel. If you are in an area and it's a musical area and you want to play musical instruments, you can go into that room and do them. But if you don't want to, you can leave anytime. And then over in this other room are video games, and over in this other room is arts and crafts of different types, sports over there, and you can leave and go wherever you want. So it's wonderful in some ways because it gives you great choice, and awful in other ways because there's not a real boundary to keep them together. One of the challenges we had is that at a few of the Stephen Cates sites, we were left alone with groups of like 18 kids, and I mean, the show is appropriate for all ages, but that's a lot of responsibility to be in a room with only kids and not be their primary teacher or anything. It's like, okay, we're gonna modify this so that there's not like a leak that's coming out of, so that I'm not springing a leak from like incontinence, but instead we're going to have it come out of my nose because that's the story we want to have come back to the parents. It's like when you don't have a teacher there to curate the experience, you want to, it becomes.
Did it still have the nitrous oxide joke in it?
Yes, we still have the nitrous oxide.
The kids aren't going to get that, but
no, I mean, the kids. Old Bugs Bunny cartoons had like ether jokes in it. And they were moving in slow motion, and these things have a tradition, despite their abuses.
Well, beyond tradition, they have a pre-existing language.
Yes,
there's a vocabulary that already exists that can be referenced, as opposed to, I'm referencing something that's illicit. No, I'm referencing something that is clearly established within the canon of comedy within our culture. So
why do you think the clown has a red nose? It's not that he's gotten into a fight necessarily. He's drunk, and that reduces him down to his childish behavior, which is both stumbling and tripping and falling, but then getting back up because this is not going to be the way this goes.
Right? So let's detour for a second.
Sure, ready.
And talk about that.
Okay.
What makes a clown? I don't want a definition that is denotative of this is the way it is.
Sure.
For you, what makes a clown? What is a clown's job? What's its function? How do you make clown?
Oh, for me, the simplest way that I go for it is the clown is the person that facilitates play, and so that they're finding a way to make a game happen. And that game could be about making spit takes, or it could be about being afraid of something, or it could be being drawn off stage by an invisible force.
One of my favorites is arguing with children.
Yeah.
I love to argue with little children about things that I'm patently wrong about, because
Yeah.
They get so engaged and frustrated and laughing. They're so enthused.
Yes.
Because they know they're right and they know you're wrong. But you're an adult, and I commonly, when I have twins that I interact with, I'm like, you guys look enough alike to be related. Are you like cousins or something? And then that leads to like 5 or 6 minutes of arguing with them about how they can't be, if they're not related, they can't be sisters. And they're identical cousins.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do identical cousins. Just
That's good. You know, I mean, that's facilitating. It makes a very simple game that someone's engaged in, and it's also punishing someone or rewarding someone when they don't deserve it. You know, that these things, this sense of injustice and playing the injustice to the hilt is really wonderful and exciting to me. You can't see this in the podcast, but I'm shaking my hands because I'm so excited. It's one of those things like waggling like a tail in a sense, because it
is my favorite part of my day job is getting into those games with other people's, because I'm interacting with people's children, and people do not interact with children. In the day-to-day world, adults do not interact with children. So when you interact with the child instead of the adult, it changes the dynamic dramatically.
Yeah.
It puts the child in a weird position of power. It lowers the status of the parent dramatically when you're doing your interaction with the child instead of the parent. And then putting the child on the spot with word games and, are you ready to go? Are you sure? Did you check? Give me a high five. Yeah, you're ready. Okay. Things like that. Just that is the one. I mean, I do, clowns, circus stuff for them as well. We all do our object manipulation of one kind or another.
Yeah.
While we're out there, while we're working with the kids. But it is those moments of direct interaction when I'm making falsehoods out of things that they know to be true.
Yes.
That make the job in any way fulfilling.
That's fun. That's really fun. That's really satisfying.
So you do the camps, the 18 camps.
Yep.
How do you get from this point where you're playing for children, you're playing in America, to the point where you feel like you're ready to go to Edinburgh?
One of the things that we wanted and that we discovered about the Bay Area is we knew we wanted to keep coming back to the Bay Area and perform here. To perform here in the Bay Area, you have to leave it and go make a name someplace else. You cannot get into major theaters or can't get recognition unless you have left. I mean, you can go to the Marsh. The Marsh is awesome. I mean, that's great for solo performance, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's their point, right? A solo?
Yeah. But if you want to go to any of the other stages that are around here, they don't really look at you unless you have some cred outside of the Bay.
I was just discussing with Melindy earlier today, clown from Switzerland, who does festivals there. It is so difficult to find a theater to work in San Francisco. There's really only two choices if you are working in circus or clown and want to actually make a go of it, and they are Stageworks, who has just over a decade of this fervent support for circus arts, and Ty McKenzie, who owns it, does so much to support our community, and Safe House for the Arts, which was Joe Landini with the Garage, and his new theater in the Tenderloin that's about to open. And there's not much else. I mean, almost everything is union. Union, but you can't afford to put on a show in a union theater.
It's also rare to find clowns as a part of a union. This Circus Arts does not have a union right now for performers. And I remember back when I was starting my serious training after college, I noticed that there was just no clown union. I mean, my dad had been a cab driver, and there was a union there back before Lyft and Uber took over. My mom was a teacher in public schools. She was always part of a union. Unions were just a part of my growing up.
But I mean, there has to be the whole point of a union is group negotiation,
right?
And if there's no one to negotiate with, there's no reason for a union. If there's no demand for what you do, if what you do is treated with so little respect that no one will give it any seriousness and any worth.
It's not. I have to.
I mean, commercially. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I gotta interrupt it because I do believe that it's valued, but I don't think it's understood that what it is that they're actually looking at or that they value is clowning.
Absolutely. The definitions, the semantics around what we do, have had to become clouded because of the antipathy towards clowns in America, and that falls heavily on Ringling. You know, I'm not blaming them entirely, but taking the words out of the clown's mouth, simplifying the clown, making the clown saccharine and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter, leads to pushback.
I think so, except the part about Ringling that I recognize is that they're having to megaphone themselves to the back row.
Exactly, to thousands of people.
And that's really, you have to wear a costume that is that big, flappy suit. You have to have features that are supremely exaggerated. You have to look very close to the people that are next to you, like have a very similar look and feel, so that you're recognized to be part of the same family. That is all essentially part of what has to happen, but it's not what really reads to me as far as clowning. It's not what really sings and brings me alive. It's not what
brings us joy as clowns, but it's still clown.
And it does, the trouble is that and the whole Shriner clown experience or religious clown, which bless their hearts that they're going in that direction and want to make it happen, but it also requires amount of training that I don't know that they all get. Some people just slap on the costume and the makeup and think they're a clown, and that's well,
it's also this philosophy that a clown is just a human cartoon. That's all it is. It's just people being cartoonish,
elastic, buoyant, and so this is great.
Let me re-edit what my original statement.
Ready.
I think Ringling is responsible for the clown becoming silent and broad, and not nuanced, because they had to play to the back row, and that was Ringling's fault. Like the man, he decided to add in the extra rings. He decided to put 2 and 3 rings into a circus and fit 1,000 people into an audience, and the clowns had to shoot to the back row.
Sure,
that was something he made. But the sweetness of the clown becoming a saccharine figure in American media, that's not necessarily Ringling's fault. Okay. I'm presuming that's more television in the 40s and 50s.
Possibly. I mean, clowns got to get work.
Yeah.
And you're not going to necessarily go work at the rodeo, and you're not going to all get a cartoon show. You're not going to all turn into Ronald McDonald. You got to, and birthday parties are a staple, but they're also like, it's not really honing all of your craft. It's a very specific part of clown, which is lightening a space. And practicing and showing your talent. It's a private burlesque show where you don't take off your clothes.
Yeah. And I guess that is what my confusion and my beef is both, is that what caused this transition from what we do and the thing that we care about to the way that we're viewed. But that all rolls back into, this general antipathy towards the idea of clown that's present in America. And that's what I was saying, that I don't think a clown union is so feasible in America because people in mass don't see what we do as valuable.
Sure.
What we do they see as valuable, but the word clown, the things that fall under the umbrella to them, less so.
Well, I look at it as kind of nowadays what comes out a lot is clown with a K. It's
I was one of them for a while.
Oh no, I get it. I mean, before I knew what I was doing, I got it. I was that too. And in fact, it wasn't until my first Cirque du Soleil audition that I really learned that I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and that was great.
I used to go to, before I had options, I just knew this is something I cared about and wanted to be. So I went to the religious birthday party clown convention every year. And looked at all the Priscilla Moosberger costumes and took classes in balloon twisting, which I still love the fact that I can kind of twist balloons.
Yeah, same here.
And and all the skills that I picked up in those places.
Right.
And those people were so sweet and so caring and so melancholy. Just all the stories of the sick and dying children that are just kind of the spine of that world is this idea that you are giving to your community as opposed to creating art.
Yeah, well, you're a person of color. You're bringing color to the world, and you're bringing it, and it's especially vivid when you're dealing with people who are in dark times. And that's the contrast and the trouble, and why clowning has gotten such a bad rap. I think it has to do with it, and I think it has to do with John Wayne Gacy. That these are two extremely publicized negative clown images. As a result, it's become then commonplace to then take the mask work, say, of Rangda from Indonesia, which is the demon witch with the teeth poking out like tusks and the shrimp-like eyes poking forward and the wild hair, and then you put a little bit of clown makeup on that, and suddenly this is now your mythologicalized version of clown. And that's Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Excellent sci-fi comedy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about excellent. I think it was great for the time, but I mean, it's.
I have very fond memories.
It's no American Werewolf in London. So, and it's no Evil Dead 2. But I got to tell you, it was really, it's wonderful in that genre. I love a good comedy horror.
Cabin in the Woods.
There it is, Cabin in the Woods.
So let's roll all the way back
okay.
to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
How did you guys end up in Edinburgh? You knew you wanted to make a change, you said.
Yeah. And we sat down with a spreadsheet and looked at what would have to be our overhead, what would have to be our fundraiser, what we would have to raise in order to be there for a month performing and living there. And we realized that we needed to raise at least 14 grand.
Wow.
To be there for 1 month. That includes our flights there, our food, our rent, all of that, as well as the full rental of the space and any sort of weird overhead. And we also had to figure out that our Jaron had a wonderful spreadsheet where he had different tabs where if we have 20 people average for our houses, for a house size, then we're going to be in the red. But if we have 35 people average, then we're actually going to be in the black. So how we figured that out was like, okay, so we need to fundraise this amount. You've got a circus school. We need to have a fundraiser. The Pie Clowns are going to have a fundraiser too. Let's fundraise the shit out of this. And we got a lot of great donations for that.
Oh, that's excellent.
We got a ton. We raised it. We raised the 14 grand because there was so much support within the community for both Jaron and myself and this project that we were making. So they wanted us to go there. And that was great. Jaron's grandmother made an incredible donation. And so it's just absolutely fantastic to have all of this support. And then we went with another troupe, and they did our tech for us, and we did their tech for them. Well, I did some babysitting also for one of their cast members during that time, and God, Edinburgh, 26 shows in 27 days. Same time every day. We also didn't have a street show, and didn't get a street show permit, so we couldn't all of a sudden manufacture one. So our street show was essentially us flyering for ourselves for the show we were going to do that afternoon, and then doing that show. It became a regular day, exactly what we're going to do each morning. Check to see if any reviews came out. Check to see if how many people are signed up pre-sale for this show. Go to the Fringe office and staple onto your postcards, the ones that you meticulously brought or had shipped over there, staple to them the flashes. I don't know if you know what a flash is. It's a news flash. So if you get a new star review, a new 4-star review, you want that attached or stuck to the outside of your flyer. So you have to go print it out, cut it out yourself, and staple it to your damn postcard. If you grab a postcard from someone and it doesn't have that texture of a staple on it, you may ignore it. But if it's got a news flash on it, then you're going to pay attention to it. And it took, our reviewers came and saw us within the first week, and it took them another week and a half to put a review out.
Wow.
Like, we were there 2 weeks or so until our first review, like our first major review came out. I think the Scotsman gave us 4 stars, which is the big paper. And we didn't know that they had done that until we suddenly had 95 people waiting for our show in a 150-seat house. And so it's like we had been... Okay, Edinburgh. There are 2,500 shows competing for audiences. The average house size on the year that we were there was 8 people for all the shows. And so some shows were sold out. You know, Jim Jeffries sold out. You know, who is it? Michael Winslow, the sound guy
from
Police Academy movies. Great inspiration. He was sold out, and we actually got to see him and hang out with him and meet him, like, and hang out in an after place. And that was like, another shaking hand moment. But yeah, then there were a lot of shows that had 300 seats houses and 6 people showing up. You know, like nightmare runs.
God, I can't imagine that.
And they've put up like 19 grand or something to go and rent that space, and they're just watching their money disappear.
So what happened to you?
We after the 95, after like 2 weeks in, and we got the review from the Scotsman, we then like topped our average. So we had then an average, it went from 95 to then like 80, and then we sort of hovered around 60. So that offset between 60 and 45 or so, and then that offset the beginning of the run where we had 4 people plus the 4 technicians who were not busy at that time. But their word of mouth was a huge help. The word of mouth of all of our all the people that worked the Fringe was immensely helpful. They knew to say, "Oh yeah, I saw this show. It's really good. Go see this show." And so they then, like, if people were asking for advice because whatever show they had signed up for was sold out, they're like, "Well, what should we see here?" And that's how we would get our audiences.
I'm assuming from performing every single day, you didn't get to see many other shows.
We got to see some. Our show was happening at the very same time, so that our show bridges the gap between adult and child. So we had a lovely, like, 5 o'clock show time every day. So that meant that we could get a snack beforehand, do the show, get dinner and drinks afterwards, and then go see a show. So we got to see a lot of evening shows that way, which is great. And the nightlife in Edinburgh was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But, it's we had our regular pattern where we would go home, make hot toddies and put it in a thermos, and then go out and see the town and save as much money as we can.
So you had a good run.
We had a great run, yeah.
And you came home.
Yep.
So what happens next?
The next things that happened were we got calls, or we decided to approach I believe that's when we went to Shotgun in Ashby, the Ashby stage, and said, "Hey, we just came back from a successful run at Edinburgh. Do you have a weekend that we could do?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got one here." And I had been teaching Frank Olivier's daughter and son circus arts, so we got him to open for us, which was honestly an honor, and like more, we really should have been opening for him because he's a much bigger name than we are. But he was nice enough to open for us, and so we had a run at the Shattuck stage. We then were invited back to Germany, to Recklinghausen, this wonderful festival in just about an hour outside of Hamburg, and an hour outside of Dusseldorf. Shoot, I can't remember where Recklinghausen is. It was a long way away. They treated us like kings there. They did our dry cleaning. Like, I was amazed. Like, did our dry cleaning, did tech work without blinking an eye, and we're like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great." You know, we wanted, "Hey, could we attach the GoPro up to the rigging above us and like film an overhead?" "Oh yeah, that sounds great. Here, well, can you?" "Yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll do that right away." You know, and it's like, what? This is incredible. We went also to Kansas City. Bob Paisley met us at the Assembly Bar in Edinburgh, gave us his card, and he comes year after year and takes a look to see what we're up to and or what's going on in England, what's going on in Edinburgh, and then hosts a British invasion into Kansas City. And so I never would have thought to go to Kansas City, but going there I was like, wow, this town kind of rocks.
Talking Kansas City, Missouri, I'm assuming.
Yes, Missouri.
I think there's more than one.
Yeah, right there. There's Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri, and this is definitely on the Missouri side.
So, Submarine show treated you really well, and you're still doing it.
Yeah.
But you've done a lot of other stuff too. Talk to me about Lunatic Fantastique and Libby Wetzel.
Oh yeah, Libby Wetzel. Libby Wetzel is she's truly a mad woman. It's fantastic. She's taken this. I just was with her in Utah performing Executive Order 9066, and she was really instrumental in informing how to create work in an ensemble. That involves a lot of creating these beautiful, endearing characters that then do horrible things to one another, and do horrible things, and so you wind up with these really dark stories, using lighthearted found objects like.
And to clarify, this is puppetry.
Yes, this is puppetry. But again, it still fits within human cartooning. That whether or not the puppet is this meat puppet that I'm wearing, or is a shirt or a teacup or a piece of paper, it's animation in all of these different forms, and how you put life into something, a strange kind of playful life into the thing. It's that same sense in puppetry where you are driving down the road and you see somebody hit a deer, oh wait, no, it's just a jacket, somebody threw a jacket. But that moment when you're looking at that jacket and you're thinking that it was at one point life, or that you're about to go to sleep and you see that person that's standing in your room and you turn the light on and it's your coat that's hanging up, probably the same damn coat that was out there on the road. But that'd be even creepier. Jeez. But yeah, so you've got that coat that's then been hanging up on your closet. That anthropomorphization is fascinating and is something that is really a lot of fun to do with, to take that and then to take these objects and bring life to them. Am I rambling, or is this?
No, this is
sense?
great.
Okay, great.
No, it makes perfect sense. How long have you been working with Libby?
Let's see. I first met her in 2004 when she came up to Del Arte, the Del Arte International School of Physical Theater, to hold auditions. And at the time when I auditioned, I had just sprained my thumb and dislocated my other hand's pinky. So I didn't make the audition, but she looked at my hands and was like, "What?" But I really loved the work, and she remembered, and so she held another audition later on for a different run, and I started working with her then. And then the company I was with the company for 5 years, and then the company went dark for a while, and I think now 8 years later she's revitalized it for the 75th anniversary of the Japanese internment camps in the United States. So.
Which is what the show you're just doing is about.
That's correct. In Utah, it's called Executive Order 9066, and we performed it at the opening of the Topaz Museum in Delta, Utah, which they really did that museum right. It's one of those museums that you could go back for days. It's small, but there are so many nooks and crannies. There's so many different design elements, from large photographs of complicated families where the father is smiling and he's got a tag around his neck, and he's got his 3 children there, and they're all standing there and they've all got tags around their necks, and his wife is standing there as well and she's got a tag around their neck, and nobody is smiling but the father. And does that mean that he's happy, or does it mean that someone's pointing a camera and it's just sort of an instinct to smile? It's so like they were there were watercolors of the guard houses and the barbed wire and the mountains behind them, and there was a sign above it that said "Season's Greetings," like also because this is a holiday card that they had written, and it's just like it's just beautiful, striking, stark, and timely that this museum is opening.
And so your show that now Libby wrote the show, or does the work written through improvisation? How does it work?
She wrote the show. I don't have all the facts straight on it. The website is loonfan.com, and so you can get a lot more details about Lunatic Fantastic there. But I know that the production itself, she wrote it with the influence and help of another a person whose family was interned and who's now deceased. Jane died of cancer many years ago, but then Libby created this piece in honor of working with her. She was another puppeteer, so that's
beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some stuff off your bio, because there's some odd stuff.
Okay.
You won an Emmy.
Yes, I did win an Emmy.
Can you elaborate?
Yes, I can. I worked with a company called Tech TV. There's a small cable TV station that is based here in San Francisco. And
I used to watch some of their stuff on cable back before I think they merged with G4.
Yes.
Many years ago, yeah.
Yes. So at the time when I was hired, it was Ziff Davis Television, and then it became Tech TV, and then now I guess it's G4.
No, G4 hasn't existed in like 10 or 15 years.
Well, then it's Tech TV.
It's still Tech TV. Okay, go ahead.
There you go. So, and it was funny because I found an ad on Craigslist for motion capture. Hey, do you want to be a body performer for motion capture? And the audition was on my birthday. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to this. You know, I'm working as a temp, like in Sephora.com, and for some reason they put their temps into offices and the rest of the people out into the cube farm. And I was like, this is really bizarre, but I'm gonna now find another job on Craigslist. And I saw this audition, and I was like, what? Okay, either way, I'm gonna win. This is gonna be a great activity on my birthday. And I'll get to play around in motion capture, and that'll be fun. Turns out they were looking for people that had some understanding of del arte. The suit made sense to me. It was an electromagnetic suit, which meant that you had a large stage that was 20 by 20 with 4 TVs on the 4 cardinal points, and a huge electromagnetic magnet underneath the stage. And then I was wearing a Velcro suit with like all of these different wires attached to it, which then went on a long umbilical cord to the computer. And then I could see in real time the character moving on the 4 different TV screens based upon which way I was facing. And so I did the body performance for that. And then 2 different people did the voiceover work in the booth that was connected. So they were responsible for the voice as well as the facial puppetry. So you had to really get that kismet together so that
because you're all doing this in real time.
In real time, it's being recorded in real time, and that's why we won the Emmy. It was in specialty technical achievement, and so that was cool.
How bizarre! What was the character?
There were 2 different characters. Dash was the male character, and he talked mostly about innovations in animation and video games. And then Tilda was the female character, and she talked about all different innovations in what?
This is very Dash and Tilda.
Yeah, I know.
It's very silly names. Yeah.
Dude, I thought that they should have like a little like worm character named Semicolon. Mm-hmm. You know, but I mean, whatever. That's why I'm not creating for them.
TEDx,
yeah. Oh yeah, I did TEDx while I was at while Christine, my ex-wife, and I were at Davis. She was going through grad school then. We found out through an how to describe this? This is not an ex-housemate. We never lived together, but she had been living in the house before us. she came back to get her mail and let us know. We were like, oh, hey, who are you? Oh, well, I'm over at UC Davis and getting ready to work on the TED thing. It's like, oh, really? You do TED Talks? Well, we have a duo performance, partner acrobatics and dance, and so they brought us into this TEDx production. You can search on YouTube for TEDx Slater Penny or Christine Germain and find this 7-minute duet that we did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's beautiful. I love that work. God, I love duets. It's hard to always negotiate with other people.
Have you done much of any solo performance?
Only in the last 2 years. The last 2 years ago, my wife and I separated, and we finally have gone through our divorce this year. But at that point, when I was separating, I realized that there just wasn't enough time. Jaron didn't have enough time to perform or focus on the Submarine show. He was going through a lot with being artistic director of the Kinetic Arts Center, and I tried working with a couple other people and a couple other troupes to create more work. It just was like, this is really hard. It's really rare to find these partnerships that work and last. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be around for as long as I'm performing, so I might as well try to figure out how to create something that can partner with the audience. And so these last 2 years I've been working on stuff with a cardboard box carrying clown. I've been doing some work in Buffon, which is also ensemble work, but honestly it's been really tricky to play. It's really terrifying to play alone in front of the audience.
Yeah.
When you have a partner, you know that you can hey, how are you doing? You doing good? Let's go make.
I prefer to work with a partner, but I think I just don't partner well because I've never been able to find a good partner to partner with. I've never been able to find someone who wanted to keep partnering with me. Right. I mean, I had one excellent partner coming out of clown school, Patrick, but he, moved away to the Philippines, and I've not been able to find, and I've tried to partner with a number of people. I've partnered with Jeremy Vick briefly.
It's not easy.
There's been a few people that I've tried with, Kelly Hawley and other people, but I think I just don't partner well as much as I would love to be in that kind of situation.
Well, I mean, it's really weird and it's rough. It doesn't always work, One of the things that wound up happening with my partnership with Christine was our piece was surrounding our marriage and immigration, and suddenly some of the lines became blurred of well, are we actually performing our marriage, or are we actually really truly married and with one? It became questionable, and some of the things about oh, let's just cancel this show. Let's just cancel this, and it's it gets the stakes start to get shifted and funny, but honestly, it's after the show when it works, when the thing that you work on succeeds, and you have someone there who is with you in the trenches, and that you were shoveling that shit that was just threatening to drown you. You're just shoveling it together, and then you're like, yes, fucking made it. It's so satisfying when you're able to find
kill the people.
Kill the fucking people.
I so view the audience antagonistically. I have no choice up there because I only do solo work.
Right.
And whether it's trunk act or some of the shorter pieces or the burlesque act, which is the main thing I do now.
Yeah.
I only do solo. I try and partner with the audience. I try to make a direct connection to at least an actual connection to at least one person in the audience, beyond just partnering with the audience as a whole. But they are the enemy.
Well, that works for you.
To a degree.
I mean, it's looking at you angry is funny. I mean, I think Ronlin was talking about this at Del Arte. Ronlin Foreman was saying that you might be successful as a sad chicken. That being a sad chicken is what makes it for you and is ridiculous and lovely to watch. And I think he was right. I think I am a sad chicken. Like, it's funny when I get sad or get scared or get like under the gun, or ashamed when I really am sitting in my shame of something and then just still standing there and pleading with the audience. That occasionally it doesn't go towards pity. It goes towards like, oh my God, that's fucking ridiculous. And so that you find the thing that works for you, the specific way and survival strategies that you've developed that are effective and now useful in clown.
See, I think I'm better at the survival strategies than what's effective on stage.
Oh,
but that's me. So we are running long. Let's get to the questions that we ask everybody.
Ready.
So, media.
Media.
What is the media that has influenced the clown that you became? Movies, TV shows, books, music, other clowns, theater. What?
Popeye the Sailor Man.
Beautiful.
So easy.
The cartoon or the movie?
The cartoon and the movie. Both. That the cartoon, so much was just physical and then ad-libbed lines in between, and just like very, very grotesque characters that kept coming back. Each and every episode they would come back. And so even if they were like suffering horribly, they would come back the next episode and be totally at the beginning again. And in Popeye the Sailor Man the movie, these were again my pickle clowns. So and Robin Williams, what the hell, Mork? Yeah, of course. I was already sold, and that already for me is a successful movie, even though it's a damn sleeper and it has sure problems. That for me, both of those were easily my win.
Weirdly, my fixation that led to my fixation with clowns is heavily Shelley Duvall oriented.
Oh yeah,
and pulls heavily off of Popeye the Sailor Man towards
She's weird.
Her as olive oil.
Yep.
I have a thing for cartoonish women,
yep.
And she is one of the actors of that era that personifies that.
She's like a sexy Don Knotts.
Yeah, I think that is a lovely way to put that. But I mean, that's presuming Don Knotts is not sexy, which he's an incredibly sexy man.
Honestly, it's my own bias. I'm not really into men, so
if Don Knotts was a woman, yeah,
there we go.
He would have my heart, or just femme. If Don Knotts was femme, he would have my heart. So that also covers what is the underrated thing that you think more people should pay attention to. I think.
Yeah.
But do you have another one? Another piece of media that's underrated that you think more clowns should pay attention to or learn from?
Yeah, every single they should go to and watch every single animation festival from the 80s through to the early 90s. Everything prior to the advent of Silicon graphics, they should go back and watch. Animation festivals are a font of like good and bad humor, and you can find these amazing gems tucked away in it.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know Submarine Show.
Yeah.
What is next for you? What is your next direct project or major project? Is it Submarine Show? Is there something else on the
direct docket?
Yeah.
So I'm going to the grad school thing this fall, and although I'll be doing some work to try to codify and potentially open up and expand more on the Submarine Show, I really want to do more exploration of hobo clown work.
I've seen a photo of you in that guise, but I've not seen any of the performance.
There's something that seriously appeals to me about low status jobs or things that are commonplace or found everywhere. Somebody who is a workman, somebody who is actively like sweeping up or is or is trying to make a buck here and there. It really sings to me. As somebody who started off as middle class and then now is finding himself somewhere in the lower middle class. I find myself looking maybe even lower class, geez. But I find myself looking at what it has taken to survive. And I like all the things about who appeals to me and whose story I want to tell. I want to talk about the things that are how the underdog gets to turn things around. At least that's my story of hope. It's my romantic vision.
Okay, 2 more questions.
Ready.
Where can people find you and your work on the internet?
Got it. You're going to find a lot of it on the Facebooks, and you can find some of it by doing Google searches. Right now, the Submarine Show and I think Le Projet Migration is still up online. But yeah, you can YouTube the shit out of that. Honestly, I don't have a webpage yet. But the Submarine Show is going to be performing again this September. So in a month and a half, we're going to be performing for 3 weekends at the Great Star Theater.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, 7:30 shows on Fridays and Saturdays. It's going to be great.
All right, and the last question that we ask everyone who's on the show, if you could tag 3 other clowns to come on the podcast after you, who would they be?
3 other clowns. Now, I don't know who you've... since I haven't viewed all of the podcasts, it's harder for me to say. But Wendy Winaz is one person that would be fantastic on this show. If you haven't gotten Nathaniel Giustiano, then you need to get him onto this show as well. Deanna Flesher. You need to get Deanna Flesher on this show. She plays Butt Kopinski and is based out of L.A., I believe. And she is absolutely fantastic. You need to get Deanna Flesher on this show.
I'll take your adamancy as motivation. If you have contact with her, please put me in contact with her.
Yeah.
All right, Slater, thank you very much. It was wonderful talking to you.
My pleasure, Abraham.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. This program, as always, is made possible by your support through our Patreon, which you can find through www.picklewater.com. Also, please join us this coming January 27th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at Stageworks Theater in San Francisco for a huge circus gala featuring clowns, comedians, and burlesque dancers, all in benefit of Planned Parenthood. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.